Do you want to sneak inside my pantry and get a peek? Not yet. Let's talk a little bit about containers and how I stock my pantry. Hey folks, it's Darcy from the purposefulpantry.com. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the choices that I made for building my pantry storage to not look like a Pinterest pantry at all. So if you're ready to get started, let's go. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about my consideration of what I chose for my pantry, which are OXO containers, and what I really think about them, and if I if I recommend them for anybody else. And then we're going to do a little pantry tour just to show you how I've done my pantry. Okay, I'll talk a little bit about my OXO containers and what I think about them, and would I buy them again? Do I think you should? Here we go. All right, when you get them originally, you're gonna have a container, and then you're gonna have a little piece of paper wrapped up on the inside of it. What you need to do is take it completely apart to wash it. This I washed yesterday. You're gonna see some hard water spots because of our water. And this is one I used on something else, washed it before I put something new into it. So it comes in 3 parts for the lid, just like this. The gasket, you just place right over and run it on the inside of the lid to make sure it goes, oops, I hope I'm in the frame. Make sure it gets all the way inside the lid after it's been fully dry. Now that I'm having to do this for the camera, it's not going right in. This is what forms the airtight seal for the canister. However, I'll show you in a minute. Come on, go in correctly. Sorry about that. There we go. And then this little white piece just fits right over the top of it. And it fits just like that. I mean, it really does just fit right on. Okay. So I bought some Faro in my last Imperfect Foods box because I've never used it before. And I wanted to go ahead and store it. We'll use it soon on a meal. I'll figure out what I'm going to do with it, but it's just something I wanted to try out. And yes, I could just leave it in this package, but because the way that my pantry works, I like to have things stored in containers that make sense and don't take up too much room and can stack and can use up the vertical space that I have on shelves. Now, this is not the perfect container for this package. What I want to do is store things that are about the same volume, but it's what I have, and so I'm going to just leave it in here for right now. So you put your lid on, you pop that top, and the lid doesn't come off. Okay, now here's the thing about OXO. When you have containers like this, especially like things that are pretty prone to oxygen or moisture, things can go stale inside of your container. Cereal is the one that we find the biggest problem with. That if you are using one of the cereal containers that's much too big for what you store, or you don't eat your cereal through quickly enough, the cereal can go stale after a while, just like it does if it's in the box or any other kind of container. So these are not meant for long-term storage for things like cereals and things that go kind of stale fast, but they work really well for what I need. The thing that I do also, and I didn't bring it with me to show you how to do it here, but I will put a label on this side and on this side so that it gives me some way to make sure that I've got, no matter which way I have to store them in the pantry, that I can see what it is either way. So you can see right here on my potato flakes, this one's kind of tall. So I've got one here and I've got one here on the side. But here is my real beef with OXO. Okay, can you see what's happening right here in the gasket? When you have powders or things that are prone to getting on the rim and you can't clean the rim off very well, this actually impedes with the airtight quality of these containers. So no matter when I'm pouring in or out of it, I gotta get this a little higher for you. When I'm pouring in or out of these, I make sure to go through with a paper towel or something to clean off this rim space. Okay, but the problem I found with these potato flakes is that they really liked the static, and they just pop right back up onto that rim, and so it was really hard. Oh, you can't see it here, sorry. So as I do this, they just pop right back up onto that rim. So it's really hard for me to keep it completely airproof. And so the lid, if you can see here, the lid just does come right back off pretty easily. So this is not one that I can pick up just like this. I mean, you shouldn't do it anyway, but you know you always do. So it's not one that I can just pick up by the top and then be safe to know that this is airtight. So while I really like my containers, they are not always airtight, and that's why. So something I should have tested a little bit more when I first bought these was a couple of different brands of the containers. And just to see what I like best before I invested in a set for everything. The ones that do probably much better are the ones that are clamps like this. So you still have your airtight gasket around the side, and when you close it, it clamps like that. Now this particular one is, these are the Progressives. Progressive has a whole line of containers like this. Rubbermaid Brilliance also was one like this where it clamps down. They are rounded edges and not, and while OXO goes straight down, so you're not really wasting any space. I think that you have to play that against how you feel about the airtight quality of these, and why the lids don't come up all the way off. Like, you can't remove the lid, it stays on there. This clamp actually helps hold it down to keep airtight storage. So you've got this, you've got Rubbermaid Brilliance. I think that the Container Store has a version of these, but I can't remember which one. Then you've also got ones like Better Homes and Gardens, where you have this same kind of suction feature on the lid, but it has a little flip that creates, instead of having the pop top, you've got a little flip thing that happens that way too. So I just wanted to share about what I thought about OXO. I still love these things. I don't love this, if you can see that, right here where I actually cracked it. They are still prone to breakage just like glass is. But I just covered it up with some tape so I didn't have to get rid of these things, because they're not cheap. I spent a year and a half collecting these for my pantry, a little at a time. All right, before we go look at mine, I forgot to tell you something really quick. Okay, when I decant things, which means I take them out of their original packaging to put them into a container, whether it's this or however I do it in my pantry, what I will do is I will take off the instructions from that thing. So this is how to do potato flakes. I tend not to dehydrate mine. I just buy them. I like them better from this version than my home version, and this is just easier for me. So it's one of the few things that I don't dehydrate for myself. So I will keep this. I personally just throw them in the top of box, so that way I don't worry about it. Okay, but there are people who will then tape it to the back of their container, so they just tape it right here so they know what's there. But I choose not to do that just because I don't go through that much trouble. There are also these little they're slip-in envelope kind of things that you can adhere to your container. They are just clear that you can actually slide the instructions into it, and that way you can make this available for whatever you want to store in it. So you could just take out those instructions and put different instructions in with a different kind of product on the inside. I'll link those down below where you can find those, but I always make sure to at least, if I don't cut off the directions here, I will either use my labeling machine to put in the instructions, or I'll write it on the back. You know, something to remember how to use this product, because while I may use it for a while and remember, 2 months down the road, I may not remember the ratios correctly, and so I don't want to. This is also another viable option for you. This is what I actually preferred when I first set up my pantry years ago. Glass containers that are airtight and can store everything, except that I found, for me, I was wasting a lot of space in my pantry, which you'll see in just a second, because my shelves are quite tall, that I had a ton of extra space in there, and I needed to be able to double stack and triple stack in some cases. So, and also because as I'm getting a little older, things that I'm noticing is that my grip is not always sure. So if I'm trying to carry a really big heavy glass bottle like this, especially if I'm in the middle of cooking and I'm in a hurry, I tend to drop things. I'm a klutz, and I can't always be sure. And I have broken a little too many of these larger jars. So I opted to go with something that's a little lighter for me to carry. As I enter into my, I wouldn't say my golden years, but I'm not that old, but still, as I start thinking in the future about how to handle what my house is going to look like for as we get older, I opted to switch to something that's a little more lightweight. You can also use, Rubbermaid has a whole system that are like, tight fitting lids. Tupperware also has something like that. There are all sorts of methods of storing in your pantry. Do not let the Pinterest pantry people tell you how to do your pantry. One of the biggest things that I find, let me talk to you for just a second. I'm going to flip you around here so we can talk. One of the biggest things that I find, like when I was researching all of the features about all of these containers that I wanted to use, I wasn't getting a lot of honest opinion about what the OXO containers were. About how if you have stuff on the rim that it doesn't close well, because what you're seeing is people just really want to sell you a pretty pantry, what their pretty pantry looks like, and then they want to sell you the containers. Now, I'm not going to tell you don't buy OXO, because for me they work. I just have to know the shortcomings of them. And I know that I like how it works for my pantry, but I do not have a pretty Pinterest pantry. Mine is a working pantry that we eat out of all the time. So it has to work for me. I would love if I had a really large pantry and there was only ever one or two things in one spot on the pantry, and I had pretty baskets for everything to fit into. But what I noticed for a lot of those people that create those kind of pantry looks on YouTube or even on Pinterest, they're not normal pantries for normal people. Now, I'm not saying that they don't eat out of their pantries that well. They just have a different life than I do, and I need something that works for my life. So I want to encourage you that when you're looking at those pantry pictures and you see these really beautiful pictures of color coordinated foods and pretty baskets that things fit into and everything looks really pretty, if that doesn't work for you, don't strive for that. I know we want our places to look nice when we work in them, but don't strive for pretty over functional, because functional is what you need to have a pantry that works for your family, to prepare it for storing food for longer than just the next couple of weeks while you're shopping. You need one that works for you. So if you're ready, let's go take a look at mine. Just want to add this here about these. After reviewing, I realized I really hadn't talked about how I got those. What I would do is I would scour the places like TJ Maxx and Home Goods and those kind of places to find these containers a lot less expensive than if I purchased them off retail at Amazon or Container Store or Target. Now, don't get me wrong, I paid retail for a lot of them as I needed them, but I spent about a year and a half collecting. So this didn't happen overnight. I didn't go out and just buy a ton of them at one fell swoop, like you see other YouTubers do, where they go, we're just going to buy all the things in stock. I took my time and bought them as I could. Excuse me, sorry, we've been struggling with a cold all week long, and I'm on the tail end of it. So I took my time. I didn't do this overnight. It took me a year and a half to build this up the way I have it now. So if you're looking at redoing your pantry to fit something better, give yourself time to find those things and create it yourself instead of just trying to dive into it all at once and spending a ton of money. So I hope that helps. Okay, we ready? Let's take a look. It's been a while since I've done a pantry tour, so here is the new pantry since the last time. Let there be a lot of light. So first, what I want to do is show you something that my husband did for me this year. Was because before, this is the only light I had, this light way up there in the top. It's the only light that was available, so when I would get down to these bottom shelves, I had a hard time seeing in the back. So what he did is he put in some LED strip lighting that is all the way around the door right here. If you go all the way around, you'll see all the way down here. And they are run off a transformer that's someplace in here that I don't remember where it is. Oh, sorry, I'm sure I'm giving you guys like whiplash or whatever. And it has a little control panel here that I can like change the colors, but I don't need colors. I just want bright white so I can see better. But it's also attached to our light so that when I turn on the pantry, all the lights go off and all the lights come on, so I can see really well in here for me. All right, so I'm just going to talk to you about how I do my pantry. My pantry is done in categories, and that's how my brain works, to where I know how to find things where they need to go. They're all stored together, and it works well for me. So we're going to start up at the top. Up here are some extra oatmeal package, some storage bins, some extra glassware. Then we move on to cereal for my my now all young adult men, because I no longer have kids in my house. My oldest just turned 18, and so it's like, oh, no more babies. I keep some freeze-dried foods up here that we go through very much, but most of my freeze-dried food is kept elsewhere in the house. I have some containers right here taking up some of the space that I found that I really couldn't store the freeze-dried things there because I didn't have enough space left over, so I just tucked some of those up there to give me more room a little further down. Then here is my baking area. I don't do a ton of baking, and so I don't have a ton of space for it. I keep one package of emergency cake mix and one package of emergency brownie mix, that if we need to whip up something quickly for a meal for a family, or something going on, I've got that handy that I can do it quickly. Back here are some extra sugar in the back. That's where I store my extra sugars. Some stevia and that kind of stuff here. My extra tea bags, and then just the rest of the baking stuff here. Then we move down into spices, which are all the various spices, things that I dehydrate, things that I get in bulk. All of my salts and pepper are back here. Then down here are just more of my bulk spices, and then my extra smaller spices that I store in these little, I got a couple of these containers for redoing all of my daily use spices, and I kept one of them to store the extras here that I don't have enough for a bigger jar. They're just small sizes, so that's where I tuck them. Then here is pasta, all of my pasta, all of my grains. And see, what I'll do is I actually stuck stuff in the back. That's why I went with these containers, because they fit my space exactly, and I can double stack or triple stack in the back when I need to. So I have things in the back, but I always, I know what they are and where I can find them. Then right here are where we keep our extra meats, and you can see I've still got a big hole for meats that I haven't rebuilt after we use them all up. Some extra bowls, paper bowls for when we're sick, and everybody's sick. Nobody wants to do dishes, so we have some extras, plates and bowls back here. My husband's popcorn bin, my wraps and foils and parchment paper and all that kind of stuff for my dehydrator or for baking. Then down here, it looks a big mess because it is right now. We accidentally overbought potato chips. We don't ever have this many, but I double, triple ordered something and I didn't mean to, so we have a ton here. But usually this is potato chips that are being eaten, potato chips that are extras, or any other kind of snack, things like that. And on the bottom is usually where I keep some extra potatoes and onions, but you can't get to them right now. I keep some extra vegetable juice for my husband, who always wants to have a little extra. This is our water. Our handy water. We keep the rest of our water elsewhere. My Instant Pot, my salad spinner, my roaster. I have a bin here for, what is that? Oh yeah, that's some stuff that I keep for my grandmother. And here we have a bin of where I keep snacks for the guys. We do like seaweed, some free stuff that I get from the grocery store or anything like that. I'll tuck away in there. And then right behind it is where we normally keep extra cat food, but we're out right now because they were out the store. A bin for my oldest son for his snack food and his lunch stuff. A bin for snacks. Extra silverware, extra utility stuff that I do. And then a bin for my husband for his lunches. Then we keep extra paper plates, packaging here, my food saver bags. A thing of Diet Coke for my dad when he comes to visit. And then extra Ziploc bags that I bought in bulk last year to make sure I had enough. Okay. So the next shelf, this is our prepackaged food, things that I keep for whatever I do. Always taco shells, always a little mac and cheese for my youngest son. And then I got a great deal on some seed coating mixes that we wanted to try that were just different flavors until I figured out how to do them for myself. So I bought them so I could do that. And then a box of carrot cake mix. It should be up with the baking stuff, not in here. But that's an extra for me because every once in a while I like it. Then rice packages that my husband loves that I can't make myself. I haven't figured it out. So we keep those there for him. And then just a few little boxes of other oddball things. Okay. Then canned soups for emergencies, for when we're sick, when we need to be able to do something. A few things for baking, for cooking, sorry. Then we have our fruits, canned fruits. Then this is the broth section, which is broths, and then homemade stocks that I'm starting to build up. Then we move over here for salad. Then I have a little spinny thing in the back here for condiments, for things that I want to do. Come on, somebody didn't put that back in right. Then here are crackers, saltines, graham crackers, and then just snack crackers. This is another little snack shelf where I have nuts, dried fruit and veg that they can snack on. And then we do, usually there are protein bars here for lunches, and then just snack crackers for anytime somebody wants something. Then another little bin here for condiments and Worcestershire sauce and vinegars and things like that. Apple cider in the back, ketchup, lemon juice, and some lime juice back there. Then another little baking, another breakfast area that we keep stuff here for when everybody was working out of the house, for instant breakfasts, like quick oatmeal, And then the little snacky breakfast thing for the boys. And then we keep some instant breakfast drink mixes for protein shakes. Then my extra flour stored back in the corner. More holes for oatmeal and some other things I haven't had for a little while that I need to stock back up on. Then on this shelf is just regular stuff, canned. This is a salsa mix that we like a lot that I have yet to be able to reproduce. So I buy it here. We keep some queso there from when we have tacos, peanut butters, jellies, tikka masala, because we really like this stuff. And I have yet to try to tackle this one on my own. So I buy it. We have it about once a month. Extra applesauce, vegetables, oils, fats, the condiment bin of condiments that if anybody goes out to eat and they have extra, they throw them in there. Back to our salts. Then more baking things right here. And then this is where I start storing and double stacking and triple stacking things as I need them. You can see there, cocoa powder, chocolate chips, cheese powder, peanut butter powder. We use peanut butter powder for smoothies and for putting into desserts and stuff. And then cheese powders when they do, we will use that for popcorn and for other things. And sugars, flour, baking mix, and then back here right behind the sugar is more stuff that I've got back there, dry milk. There you go. So that's how I can really stack these shelves up, and I can even put, gosh, I'm sorry guys. I can even put another bin up on top of here. I hope I got these. Right there. So that's how I use these OXOs in my pantry to make sure I can make up use of all that space here, because I could actually stack a couple of extra things on top here. I've got some square ones that go here, or even some smaller ones. I think I've got one extra small one back here that's empty that I could still stack on top if I need to stack something there. See how that works? Okay, so that's my pantry. This is my general working pantry. It's not where I keep my dehydrated foods. It's not where I keep all of my canned foods. It's not where I keep all my dehydrated foods, but I meant freeze-dried foods, but it's the working one that we use the most often. So I just thought I would show you that. So I hope you like the tour of my pantry. If you have questions about it, let me know. If you don't agree with the foods I keep, I don't really want to know. I know we all do things differently. Your foods are your foods, our foods are our foods. We don't need to shame anybody about the foods they have in their pantries. You don't see the breadth of what I have. If you have questions, just let me know. And I will talk to you again later. Happy dehydrating.